we're going to make sure that they're not murderers, killers, drug dealers, and the kind of people that we have largely coming in right now.
This is Todd Kohlhepp. I'm not accusing the gentleman in the video of being Todd Kohlhepp, but this is Todd Kohlhepp, and this is what Todd Kohlhepp looks like.
From mental institutions, insane asylums, insane asylum, that's Silence of the Lambs stuff. I told them not to let the Syrians in because we have no idea who they are. They could be ISIS, and they might not be, but they could be ISIS.
Why are you creating an expedited path into the country for Connors but not others?
Because they're being killed. It's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. Farmers are being killed. They happen to be white. But whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But
yeah, the United States is about to see a lot more hate crime videos with South African accents. While Donald Trump is perfectly fine to insist that the US is full up and they don't need any more immigrants, when it's white immigrants, it's a different story.
All right. How do I even begin to set this up? Let me get my situation right now, folks. And just like that, we back, man. Look here, man. If it quack like a duck, if it act like a duck, look like a duck, sound like a duck, smell like a duck, how to like it as a duck. Now, when we talk about this here current climate of politics and who we have in our current administration, man, the moves that they make, they're glorious. They're like morsels to eat and just pick apart daily, man. Because the people that didn't vote that way, they prepare for the worst, and they're just kind of unbothered at this thing. You dig what I'm saying? Just try everybody just keeping their castle afloat, and just analyzing and living life as needed, man. You know what I'm saying? And just hopefully we can maintain enough and keep enough influence and sway out here to keep this thing from going too far astray. You dig what I'm saying? The people that did vote for the current administration, they're having a hard time reconciling, a lot of these strange happenings that seem to be going on. Now, I got a list of things that I could talk about that happened here lately, man. But the one we're going to focus on today is wrapped around the idea and the conversation of this here immigration policy and what the White House is for and who they with and who they like and who they don't like. And apparently there's some discrepancy to who they deem fit to be called United States citizens. You dig what I'm saying? So we had the H-1B visa fiasco about the Indians. They made a ruckus. They're currently, or we'll get into that in a minute, they're currently supposedly deporting all of the illegal Mexican, some asylum seekers. Keep that term in your, in your vocab, in your mind as we go forward. Asylum seekers. You dig what I'm saying? So, it's just been a lot of mixed messages, man. It seems that there seems to be some type of a color difference out here, man. Just the pigment and the melanin of these individuals, just seem to be something different about them. Now, I brought up Todd Kohlhepp because of this.
Basically, we're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to get the energy prices down almost immediately, and we're going to close the border, and we're going to get the crooked ones out, the bad ones out, and we're going to let a lot of people come in because we need more people, especially with AI coming and all of the different things, and the farmers need, everybody needs. But we're going to make sure that they're not murderers, killers, drug dealers, and the kind of people that we have largely coming in right now. Okay?
Mr. President.
And, I just feel like they bear a striking resemblance. But, Trump says that we're making sure that they're not killers and drug dealers and rapists and all this, that, and the third. But with the hurried process that these people that we're going to speak about got brought into the country, I'm not sure that they know that. You dig what I'm saying? But this was more of the setup of what they came with, trying to usher this thing in.
And we're going to work with people so that if they go out in a nice way and go back to their country, we're going to work with them right from the beginning on trying to get them back in legally. Is that right? So it gives you a real incentive. Otherwise, they never come back. They'll never be allowed once a certain period of time goes by, which is probably going to be 60 days. We're also going to work with farmers that if they have strong recommendations for their farms for certain people, we're going to let them stay in for a while and work with the farmers and then come back and go through a process, a legal process. But we have to take care of our farmers and hotels and various places where where they need the people. And we're going to be working with you very carefully on that. So a farmer will come in with a letter concerning certain people saying they're great, they're working hard. We're going to slow it down a little bit for them. And then we're going to ultimately bring them back. They'll go out, they're going to come back as legal workers. Okay?
Now, from those two videos, if you didn't hear it, what you can put together, these deportations and all of this ranting and raving that they had going on, it's really hitting them in the pocket. You know who employed the vast majorities of illegal aliens, illegal citizens, what have you, what you want, asylum seekers? Keep that in your vocab bank. Rich white guy, business owners. You know what I'm saying? These chicken farms, these fruit camps, fruit picking sites. Yeah, man, they hurting in the pockets. They employ the biggest, the landscape companies, the construction companies. Yeah, they employ the illegals. You dig what I'm saying? So now that he's sending them up out of here, either got them scared to go to work. Yeah, they crying on the low. They ain't gonna get on Twitter and tell you about that part. They'll just send him letters and call in and shit like that. You dig what I'm saying? So he's backing down on that. So basically, he's saying he's going through a new process wherein if you turn yourself in the good way, if you leave the good way, then that enables you to put your name on an application and come on back. Sounds like a process that they're not suited to take on. And pretty much those ICE deportations pretty much probably done paused. You dig what I'm saying? You get caught slipping out here and get pulled over or something like that, then yeah. But man, come on, man. And the flex game is so crazy and they go for it every time. You dig what I'm saying? But when you can juxtapose these views right here from one Donald Trump.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. All over the world, they're coming into our country from Africa, from Asia. Mexico sends its people. They're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. They don't speak the language. They don't have the culture. These are stone cold killers. They'll walk into your kitchen. They'll cut your throat. They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats.
Haiti has a tremendous AIDS problem. Many of those people will probably have AIDS, and they're coming into our country.
They took the criminals out of Caracas and they put them along your border, and we have to live with these animals. Democrats say, please don't call them animals. They're humans. I said, no, they're not humans. They're not humans. They're animals. They're rough people. In many cases from jails, prisons, from mental institutions, insane asylums. Insane asylum, that's Silence of the Lambs stuff. I told them not to let the Syrians in because we have no idea who they are. They could be ISIS and they might not be, but they could be ISIS.
Why are you creating an expedited path into the country for Connors but not others?
Because they're being killed. It's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black makes no difference to me.
All right, now, and so without too much further ado, we're going to get ready to introduce the little clips of the people that came from South Africa. Now, these people are at no fault, so I don't really want to get on them too much, but there's a distinct difference in these people and the people that he speaks about, even though he started one of those videos talking about people from Africa and the age that they got and this, that, and the third. Apparently, these people from Africa, aren't afflicted with these diseases. They aren't afflicted with the mind states to be criminals or what have you. Something about them just makes them, appear to be on the up and up.
welcome. Welcome to the United States of America. A lot of you, I think, are farmers, right? When you have quality seeds, you can put them in foreign soil and they will blossom, they will bloom. And we are excited to welcome you here to our country where we think you will bloom, and we will hopefully allow you to have fulfilling lives for your children, and then we will benefit alongside you.
Now, I mean, I don't know. What do you take from those 3 videos as opposed to the people you heard him speak about? What do you take from? You tell me. You get in the comments and tell me what you think the difference is. You know, I'll leave that up to you all. You tell me. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe it's something I'm missing. You dig what I'm saying? But now, as always, the MAGA base will run around the Cape of Horn to defend anything he does. Get a $400 million plane from the Qataris. Win for Trump. Come down from the ridiculous tariff talks and the stock market tick up a tick. Win Donald Trump. Even though the stock market and the market is still at a lower point than when he started with all this talk. Anytime it ticks up, it's so pathetic, bro. It's so pathetic. But we've got, as always, Mr. Punchable Face, Scott Jennings. Yeah, Scott Jennings is back in the fold. And he was on the show. Abby wasn't there. They got a fill-in guest, but they were discussing it. And none other than Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, on the panel. Kevin is insufferable, bro. Like, I guess, you know, these rich guys are seizing on that opportunity to get into politics. They're taking the Donald Trump route. You got Stephen A's of the world, and it's crazy. Kevin O'Leary is so out of touch. I heard Kevin O'Leary say something to Abby the other day. I've been trying to find that clip. She said something. He went into some kind of tirade about giving her the permission to take it back. Like, man, Abby has probably got to be subdued on that, man. And I hate it for her because Kevin O'Leary is developing into punchable face number 1, man. He's kind of taking over Scott's role. I ain't going to hold you. You dig what I'm saying? But we've got a clip from that show when they were discussing it, and so we're going to go through a little bit of that, and I'll jump in as needed.
The South African president says the people arriving in the U.S. today do not fit the definition of refugees, and that what Trump has been told about their persecution is false. All right, table. You're hearing from the South African president, and there are 2 bits of information happening here at the same time. The United States itself has never officially said that there is a genocide in South Africa, none whatsoever. But they have said officially that there is a genocide going on in Sudan. So why are Afrikaners being allowed in who are white, and the Sudanese are being closed out? I'll start with you, Scott.
I don't know if they weigh one against the other that way. I mean, I do think it's not alleged discrimination that these people are facing in South Africa. I mean, the law there absolutely allows their property to be confiscated. They are subject to racial discrimination. Some have been subject to violence from some reports that I have read. I mean, we're talking about 50-something people, and the people who seem to be angriest about this today had no problem with 20 million coming here. Some of the worst people in the world coming here, including gang members and so on and so forth. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for the folks who are outraged today after what happened to this country over the last several years. Over 50-something people who are clearly being discriminated against in South Africa.
But I think it's the reasoning for this. Allison?
Okay. So if you think about the history of South Africa, it being under an apartheid system, where I think it is 80% of the population that are Black Africans only own 4% of the land. That is because they were put in shanty towns and moved into areas where they had no rights. And so 30 plus years ago, they went through a the apartheid system ended, and they reformed their constitution under the great leader of Nelson Mandela, and that allowed for a racial reconciliation, one that this country has yet to do. But South Africa did it, and they reformed their constitution, and part of that is that the people who are native to that land deserve their rightful land back. That is not what the Afrikaners actually want to have happen, which are the white Africans, and so who are not originally from Africa, who colonized South Africa also. And so that is what they are saying is discrimination. Now, if the Constitution in South Africa is discriminatory, they have their checks and balances in that land, just like we do. And that is for them to, so if the Afrikaners don't actually like the land, they can leave that country.
They are. They're leaving to come here.
No, they can
These
leave
refugees
and go,
are coming here.
They can actually leave and go to where their native land is, which is probably Germany.
Are you
or
against them coming here?
Holland, probably.
Holland.
Are you
yes.
against them coming here?
I'm against the hypocrisy of this administration.
No, that's not the question. The question is, are you against them coming here?
If there was actually a genocide happening, like there is in other places in Sudan, in the Congo, I'm not opposed for Congolese and for the Sudanese to come to Africa, just like I'm not opposed to Venezuelans and South Americans coming to America if they are fleeing and looking for asylum.
And of course, Punchable Face Man thought that was one of his gotcha moments. You dig what I'm saying? Oh, you against him? You some type of discriminatory person? You some type of racist person against these people coming here? It's not about being against them coming here. It's about being for everyone that falls under a particular category, asylum seeking, to come here. Not for those people to be demonized and kicked out and said that they eating cats and dogs and poisoning the blood of the American people. You dig what I'm saying? Those are Hitler talking points. You dig what I'm saying? So that's what that's the overall point. But he's so smug, bro. Like, he looks at the camera and he's kind of like what's that, The Office. He reminds you of bro off The Office, man. Michael. That's crazy. I never thought about that. But he always looking at the camera, making some little stupid face. Scott Jennings, man. But yeah, the whole setup is supposedly that there's a genocide over there. Now, there's a confirmed genocide going on in Sudan, as the young lady spoke on. But when they want to come here, they get to talking about there's no women and children, and it's just all men of military fighting age want to come here. No matter the circumstances, they don't want them in here. But they happen to be of a particular shade of melanin. You dig what I'm saying? And so they would take this song, this clip right here that got the circulating, and saying, hey, this is why they came here. This is what they're actively promoting in Africa. Despite it being explained much better by the people on this panel. And then I have another video a little later on from a guy from across the water somewhere closer to the situation that fully fleshes it out for us. And so, yeah, that was the song. They're kicking people out of land that is rightfully theirs, that has been taking advantage of them for years and years and years. We know the routine. You dig what I'm saying? But let's let this panel wrap up, see what they got to say.
There's a very high crime rate in South Africa. They have a crime problem. I suspect that part of what's going on here is that there is a very high profile white South African named Elon Musk, who is very close to President Trump and is probably making this a very high profile issue and talking to Trump about it. You know, it's been, I mean, Elon Musk has tweeted about it. He's, I think, called the president of South Africa about it. He's been talking about this for a long time. Look, here's the problem. There's Afghans who helped us over there at risk of their own lives, whose refugee status had been approved, who are now being told to get out. There is actually a case in court right now, Pasito. Pasito, the lead plaintiff, is from Congo, and he is where there is an actual genocide. And there were 12,000 refugees from countries where there is genocide who have been processed, who sold their homes. Some of them have been waiting for years in third countries, who have been approved for refugee status, which Donald Trump has banned. So it's very difficult to reconcile and understand why these white Afrikaners are okay, but the black and brown people fleeing political persecution and fleeing actual genocide are not. And so the word of the day, which is, I guess, hard for some people to say, is selective racism.
I cannot hold you one bit. Anna Navarro continues to cook. You dig what I'm saying? She getting all in Scott ass every time she on there. I think she really a chomp him off. You know what I'm saying? I think she a backhand, bro. But she's cooking, man. There's an actual confirmed genocide going on in Sudan, but those people aren't allowed. She hit a good point. It's probably heavily influenced by Elon Musk, even though he's been kicked out of the White House and he seems to not be as prevalent on Twitter and supposedly back to trying to do some PR and keep the building from being set ablaze. Literally, you dig what I'm saying, with Tesla and all of that. But I could see him, having some influence on this, and probably more like a troll. You know what I'm saying? Bring these people in, see what they got to say, Trump. You dig what I'm saying? But like she said, it's selective racism, man. It's just it's hard to deny, man. And the more you deny it, the more it kind of make you look like a certain type of individual out here.
Look, I'll just be on the record very blunt. I'm against them coming here. And it's exactly for what you said, that they're taking spots from people who are being massacred. And the issue of Afghan and Iraqi translators is very personal for me, because I wouldn't be here without these Afghan or Iraqi and American heroes risking their lives for our troops. And I'm one of the many veterans on both sides of the aisle who have fought tooth and nail to get these veterans here, because they're being hunted down right now in these countries. And the Trump administration has said, no, it doesn't matter if you served, doesn't matter if you protected our troops, you don't get to come here. We're going to give these 50 slots.
I want to speak to that, because Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, said this today about the temporary protected status for Afghans. She said, we reviewed the conditions in Afghanistan with our interagency partners, and they do not meet the requirements for a TPS designation. Afghanistan has had an improved security situation. Do you believe that?
She has obviously not talked to veterans who know, because we're still in touch with these heroes, that they are being hunted down as we speak.
That's a ridiculous thing for her to just say.
Like, it's completely ridiculous.
It's just ridiculous. And I just think that...
And there's a lot of Republican veterans who will tell you the same thing, by the way.
I just think that, sometimes you got to call a spade. If anyone, regardless of the amount of melanin in their skin, is experiencing a genocide, I do think that this land, this great land of America, should be a place of refuge. But only when there is actually a genocide happening, and only when they're actually seeking asylum. And I think it should be offered to all people. And that doesn't seem to be the case right now in this administration.
How do you see this, Kevin? How can you explain this when you see what is happening here with the selective choices that are being made by Donald Trump and the words he's using, and there's no proof? No agency, no one who tracks genocide is saying that there's a genocide in South Africa.
This cut-in is for you and I, you know what I'm saying, collectively, to just take a woosah, take a breath before Mr. Shark Tank extraordinaire utters a word. Because you can just look at his face. You can see he formulating some bullshit, you know what I'm saying? Just his head is shining with bullshit ready to burst out.
Isn't this narrative going on in almost every country that was either colonized way back, gone through multi-generations, where the indigenous people feel they're not really part of the new society? Pick a country: Canada, Cyprus, Germany, South Africa. What is the answer to this? It is a very difficult situation. We in North America...
Is there a genocide going on in Canada?
Listen, if you talk to Canada,
no, really,
I mean, you're Canadian.
I'm asking you because
100 years ago, they'll call it genocide, and they were right. And the government had to make it right for them. The same thing happened in many countries. If you were a native in Canada, those school systems they had back just 50 years ago, it's horrible. That's one example. And yet, most democracies, including America and Canada, want to make it right. That's the general tone of it. Now, these are 50 or 60 people. It's a unique situation. They're coming into the country legally. You may not like it, but they are not stealing their way in. They have found a way in on a legal basis.
As in the case with Mark Wayne Mullins from Oklahoma, the Freudian slips. Like, when you tell so many lies, it's bound to happen. Now, let's be clear. He just said they found a way in. You dig what I'm saying? Now, understand that these people aren't fleeing because the conditions are so horrible. The conditions for black people, the people native to Africa, the living conditions for them are horrible. Apartheid has been going on for forever. These white people were not living bad. They had huge farms and things like that are now being taken over by the rightful owners of the land. For Kevin to go into this whole thing about 100 years ago, who gives a damn about what happened 100 years ago? 50 years ago, the schools in Canada. Who cares about Canada? Apparently, the administration want to make them 51st state, but ain't nobody tripping on Canada. But who cares? And again, these people aren't fleeing because the standard of living and their schooling system and all of that was just so low level that was just, unsustainable. Not a place to raise a family. That's not why they left. It's just crazy, man. I told you he gonna go around the river and through the woods. Umaga will go.
And we can debate it, and we are, but this narrative about indigenous populations is something rather remarkable in North America.
I haven't
The
12,000 people being represented under PACIFO are also coming in
How many
legally.
generations does it take for a Dutch person to have children in South Africa before they become South Africans? How many?
But that doesn't make them indigenous to the land.
Why not?
The people who were born
How many
there
generations do they have to be there for? They never get accepted, ever?
I'm not saying that.
They
but
have
when
children?
No,
I don't think
that's
it's
not what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's not about
You're actually
acceptance.
making my point for me. You're
I
saying
don't
the
think so.
people
I'm
in the
disagreeing
indigenous people of Canada were mistreated from 100 years ago. The South Africans were mistreated 100 years
My
ago
point
by
is
the Afrikaners.
they are
And
all-
so they're trying to make right by it because they do live in a democracy now, which they did not live in under apartheid. And the people who are now seeking refuge in this country don't want the indigenous people
What
to
you
get their
just
rights.
said, and I disagree with,
To get
you
their
get a
land,
passport.
not their right, to get their land. Just to
Well,
be
to get
clear.
their
Wait a
land
second.
is their right.
If you
want
get
them
a
to stay there.
passport,
You want them to
if you
stay
have
there
a
and
passport in South Africa.
No, I want them to say they're living what the law says.
These are great technical debates, but the bottom line is that there's not a genocide in South Africa.
That's right.
And we have a refugee
I
program.
am sure there's been
because there are a lot
violence
of people
against
who are
one
getting
side or
killed
the
in
other.
other
There
parts
has
of
been
the world.
Answer
violence,
me
but
one
hold
question.
on a second.
How
Hold on a
about just
second.
one
Hold on a
question
second. I
answer?
want to make a point.
Kevin, no Shark Tank, man. I mean, he goes to make the point for her. He goes into this whole thing about people being mistreated. Some stupid story about how many woods would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck woods, and tries to make the point of what people and what rights they have when they're being mistreated. And apparently, for some reason, bro, like being mistreated doesn't apply to black people. But black people are the only people that can't talk about the struggle of being oppressed. As soon as you utter that word, like, man, let go of that race. That's 400 years ago, man. But everybody else can speak on their newfound oppression. It's so weird, man. It is so weird. And then, like bro said, there has not been a confirmed genocide in the particular area where these people come from. And then here come Kevin Shark Tank. I'm sure there's been some violence against a certain category. I'm sure. Man, that is a theme within the MAGA community. They don't know anything. I don't know where they get their news from, bro. But they have such strong opinions. But they do nil research.
Violence does not equal genocide.
That's
so
right.
we need to be really, really clear about that. Because if you look
If you're
at
the
violence,
dead guy, you may not say that.
No, I would say that, actually. Because if you look at what genocide is, it is very specific that you're trying to get rid of a people, a whole group of people. There is violence in South Africa. They have had a very big uptick in violence. But black people have seen the brunt of that violence.
Okay.
Not just
Then let me ask this question
white
of the
Africans.
panel. If you get a passport and you're South African, and you have that passport and you're of Dutch descent, and someone else has the same passport, is this a tainted passport? Is it not equal? Are you not a citizen? Do you not have the same
No,
rights?
you know what?
Or they're special?
No. You're right. It's the same passport. That means you have to follow the laws. Each person has to follow the laws. And right now, what the Dutch is saying, they don't want to follow the laws of the land. So they're saying their passport, like it was during apartheid, when Africans didn't even have a passport because they had a passport.
I'm hearing them saying,
They had a
my
dummy
passport's
card.
not the same, and I fear for my life, and I'm leaving the country. That's what I'm
I
hearing.
also thought Trump said we're going to enforce immigration laws. And this is not enforcing immigration laws. It's breaking a law that clearly says if there's a genocide, you get to come as a refugee.
Well, he's
That's
put,
the
he's put
process.
a refugee ban on practically everybody else. Most of that everybody else that I can think of are either black people or brown people. We are seeing right now Cuban mothers torn away as they are breastfeeding one-year-old U.S. citizen child and sent back to Cuba, where there is a cruel dictatorship. We are seeing Nicaraguans and Venezuelans and Haitians, where the country is held in a handbasket, and Cubans who had parole status to come into this country.
Anna, fair
be
enough.
told they have to
But
leave.
let's celebrate
Okay.
one thing together. America is still the country where the persecuted want to come.
What? Oh my God, bro. Just the same way that he dodged out when Miss Lady said black people have been the brunt, have bore the brunt of that brutality, of that mistreatment, he pivoted into something else. As soon as Ana Navarro cooked talking about people of other skin colors, this man says, let's celebrate one thing, that America is the place where people still want to come. What is that, bro? Oh my God. Oh my God. Doc, the point of the conversation is that this current administration is vilified and demonizing people that come from the same region as the people that they just let in with open arms. They villainize people from the same region that happen to be of a different skin color. People that are in America from these places of different skin colors, they love to send them out. They talk about them bad. But Elon Musk from that area of a certain different skin color is welcomed into the government. That's the point of the conversation, Kevin Shark Tank. Oh my God.
Period.
Oh, yes,
That's true.
And that's the
but the
American
problem
dream.
is that the
That's
white persecuted are being allowed in,
It's
and the
still
black and
the
the brown
American
are
dream.
being torn
Well, for the record,
out of their
we
family.
did allow 20 million people to come
I
here
hear- I'm
illegally,
just-
and this is 50 people. So, I mean,
I get it, right? The numbers don't, the math doesn't math, but it doesn't mean the facts of the situation are any different. If the thinking that they are being persecuted, that they are suffering a genocide.
Why
that
would they
is-
leave their homes?
Because
if everything is
they
fine,
don't-
why are they fleeing?
Because
they
guess what?
don't
They
like-
want to come to America like a lot of people in the world.
Oh, the American
We
dream is
have-
working? Oh,
But
no,
we-
that's horrible.
But we have a system to prioritize people who really need to come here.
Well, that's a debate we can have, and we are.
no,
That
it's
is-
not
that's
just
not
a
a
debate.
debate.
It's still the
it's
magnet.
process that
It
we
is the
have.
process that has been
Well,
set
the previous
for
administration had priorities about who
refugees.
to let in, including, all kinds of folks who I would argue shouldn't be here. This administration, I guess, is going to set priorities about who not to let in.
But let's just be honest about what those priorities are, right? And by the way, I'm a Democrat here. I did not defend the Biden administration on immigration.
But you voted for him,
So what it,
That doesn't mean that I
and you
defended
voted,
him on
and you voted for a
immigration.
continuation of it in 2024, did you not?
I did not vote for his policies on immigration.
But you voted
Did
to.
you vote? Do you?
Okay,
agree
but
that
you
did
voted-
vote?
there are
But you
things about
voted.
Donald Trump
You
you don't
voted to
like
extend
either,
the
Scott.
immigration policies of the last administration.
No,
The
no,
point
I
is-
did not vote for that.
The
I
point
did
is,
not vote for that.
you're in a
No.
party that opened the borders, and I'm in a party that closed the borders, and I think the American people prefer it our way.
well, he's
Close
closed the
them for all
borders
there.
to certain people.
That's
right,
and I
that's
think
the
that's
difference.
the debate.
The people who are coming here illegally,
The
of
debate,
course.
though, is he's closed the borders to people who are seeking
By the way, I
refuge
don't even
and
disagree with
opening
you
it
about the
to white
translators.
people.
I think the people who helped the American military deserve a chance to be here. As long as they're vetted and as long as we know who they are, I'm in agreement with you. If you help the United States, if you help the U.S. military, if we help brave soldiers like you were, I'm in agreement with you about that, but I don't think these things are mutually exclusive. I think we can look at these
but
situations.
So
what
then
is-
why
what
are
is
they letting them
apples
in?
to apples,
Would
though?
you agree?
Assuming you think the genocide in South Africa, let's just for a moment assume that that's true. What is apples to apples is that there are 12,000 people right now, refugees, who had gone through the process, who are part of this lawsuit that was ruled on last week, telling the Trump administration to give a timeline for when they are letting them in. And the Trump administration is saying no because they have a refugee ban for all of these people, most of whom come from places like Sudan and the Congo, most of whom are black and are not white Afrikaners. And so if you are looking at this from that, you say to yourself, I wonder what's the difference between the one and the other. Oh, okay, I see what it is.
I agree with you. Can we try to find some bipartisan agreement?
Yeah, of course. You know what it is, Scott. Again, man, you know, it's only so far you can go before it starts to leak upon you. You dig what I'm saying? Now, I'm sure it ain't on him. It's in him. You dig what I'm saying? But you're on national television where you got to keep your spot. You know what I'm saying? You saw his face. You know what it is. Anna Navarro, I mean, she cooks on that, man. Anna get in her bag. You dig what I'm saying? I don't know whether to call her Latino or what have you, but she got that spice to her, man. You dig what I'm saying? She knows what she's talking about. But you see Scott. He can't defend it. And then I don't even know who dude is. He's got a pretty remarkable face, I must say. He jumps in. Can we find some bipartisan agreement? No, bro. This isn't the stage for bipartisan agreement. This is the stage for smoke from the left to the right. Smoke. We ain't in here trying to agree on that. Where he come from?
What is the difference?
Would you agree that the Afghans should come first?
Come
if you
first?
have 50 spots, and you're only going to allow 50 exceptions here, 50 spots.
I mean, is that
we're
all
gonna
we
let
have?
refugees-
I don't know why we can't
Well,
do
I'm
it
just
all.
saying
That's all he
that-
did.
That's all he did.
For the white
So would you agree that
I-
the Afghans should get those spots first? That's all I'm asking.
I'm in agreement that they should be here.
I'm just
I don't know
asking if
in
they
what
should come
order, and I
first.
don't know how many slots we have. But I'm in agreement with you that if you help the U.S. military and you are vetted and you are proven to be loyal to the U.S. government, which I don't know how you vet 12,000 of the people you're talking about.
And-
but
and
if,
you're-
It's
you're
literally
being
taking
but if we're, but if
some of
we're,
them,
but if
some of
we're,
them have been
if you're,
waiting
if you're
3
loyal to the
years
U.S.
for
government,
that
I don't really
But
have a
that's not
problem
what's
with that.
going on with the 50 Afrikaners. They did not help the U.S. government. So then if it's the...
He's asking me about the
right,
translators, and
I'm asking
yeah.
who should come first.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
if
they
you're
risk their
saying that
lives for
both,
us.
that
Does
you
that
think
not
if
matter?
you help the U.S. government, they should come. My question is, like, if you didn't help the U.S. government, but you're facing persecution, should you be able to come too, regardless of your the melanin in your skin?
I refuse to make this about race.
Okay,
You
but it
all
is about
think
race,
you
I
all
think.
think all decisions are being made about race.
No.
I don't
So
this
agree
this
with
one
that.
appears to be.
Why are the Congolese not being let in?
What's the difference between 12,000 people and 50
Can't
people?
win this
Can you
argument.
do that?
Start
No
with
matter
50.
who comes in,
but also
somebody
let me
else
tell
should
you
come in
something.
first.
There is
Start
a
with
very
50, the
thorough
people actually
vetting
experiencing
process
genocide.
for refugees. A lot of times they have to wait in third countries for years. Some of these people in this lawsuit, Pasito, people go look it up, have been waiting for 3 years to go through that very rigorous vetting process. These Afrikaners he just brought in, completely expedited, sent a plane to go, U.S. paid plane to go grab them in South Africa and welcome them with open arms while the black and brown people are being thrown the hell out.
And there you have it. You know what I'm saying? Put so eloquently by and there you have it. Put so eloquently by Anna Navarro once again. You heard Scott attempt to go into, his reply to Miss Lady was, what's the difference between 12,000 and 50? Well, like she said, she was drowned out by everybody else talking about. How about let's start with 50 of those people that are actually actively going through a genocide? You dig what I'm saying? Pivot as always. I got to find me a pivot graphic or a pivot noise or something. Throw pivot, because that's what they do, man. And so I wonder if they watch themselves back in these interviews. They're probably not. And even if they do, they're the type of people that can sleep well at night doing complete F-style stuff out here in the world, man. But like I said, I've got a video now, and it'll be the last one of this little here episode. But we have a TikToker from apparently across the pond. He may be from down off in South Africa. I don't know exactly what the accent is, but he explains this situation in depth as far as what's actually going on with these people. And like I say, I'm not accusing anybody of being a Todd Colehelp. Todd Colehelp was a horrible, despicable human being. But when you make comments out of your mouth about these people that you let in without going through the proper vetting process, I don't know that you can confirm that they aren't a Todd Kohlhepp type of individual. You know what I'm saying? But you're assuming that they're not just because of how they look. And that's why, it invites the comparisons, man. But this fella here is got something to tell you about South African Africaneers. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, the United States is about to see a lot more hate crime videos with South African accents. While Donald Trump is perfectly fine to insist that the US is full up and they don't need any more immigrants, when it's white immigrants, it's a different story. Now granting asylum to white Afrikaner South Africans on the basis of them being victims of racial discrimination. By racial discrimination, they of course mean the South African government trying to undo decades of apartheid-era policy. These well-dressed, well-fed, hyper-westernized white South Africans are not victims of anything. These are just white people who spent generations benefiting from an apartheid system that was designed to favor them. And I'm aware of the dispute that the white Afrikaners have with the South African government over the use of farmland. Thanks to generations of apartheid, the white Afrikaner farmers own 78% of the farmland in South Africa, a country which is 80% black. These white Afrikaners are not oppressed, right? They got all of that land as a way of keeping wealth in white communities and away from black people. Now that the South African government is making efforts to undo that inequality, and these white people now have to share the same land, freedom, and privileges and rights as black people, suddenly they're all victims who need saving. None of these people look like they're especially in danger to me. They just look like they miss being able to say their favorite slurs in whites-only areas. Despite the US government overspending to the tune of $150 billion compared to the Biden administration, the US government is already agreeing to set them up with furnishing, household items, and housing the moment they get here. That's right, the United States is able to treat immigrants with human decency if they're white. Share the same far-right prejudicial values as the Trump administration. Just saying, all those viral videos of people being racist in cars and in restaurants and in public parks and in bowling alleys and all of that, you're going to expect a lot more South African accents in the coming months. At the end of the day, when you're privileged, equality feels like oppression, and that's what they're running from, really.
Cook, young sir. He explained that thing full on. Equality feels like oppression. You dig what I'm saying? When you've been winning and just been ahead for so long. The minute that people want to take their lick back, now you scream, you got hit, man. You dig what I'm saying? So he wrapped this thing up, man. I don't really have much to add, after what he said, but it's a hell of a thing. And again, when you go so far to try to defend certain things, it just make you look stupid. So I was scrolling Twitter, just looking around at this thing, and I saw someone, like I told you, these black MAGAs, man, when they try to step outside the box and ask a question about something pertaining to black people or brown people and their mistreatment, you know what I'm saying? Like, they go ham on them. So I saw old Pastor Daryl Scott, this tweet right here. And again, I can't show you the replies. I can't show you the comments. I was showing my daughter. I'm like, look at what they have in the barrel. Look, they already have these saved up. These are the same people. Let them go on there and call Michelle Obama Mike or something. Oh, they love him. They'll go follow him 10,000 times over. Let them stick their neck out and say what happened to Trayvon Martin was wrong. Man, they will go crazy on them in the comments. It's such a crazy thing. But, fella warned them, man. These people coming in, they're hyper westernized. You dig what I'm saying? You see them waving their little flags, and they're used to being able to say those things out in the brush. Excuse me, wide open. There's that thing again. I ain't did that in a while. So it's highly likely they will bring it over here. But also as I was scrolling Twitter, I happened upon this little warning right here.
Dear Afrikaners, welcome to the United States. As you get off of planes, know this. Do not bring that apartheid mentality over here, because you will soon find out that the descendants of American chattel slavery are not the same as the black people in Africa. Don't let Trump get you trumped up. Don't let President Musk lead you all somewhere that you never thought you would see. Don't think. Shiloh Hendricks is the example of who to follow. Mind your manners. Fly under the radar. Have a nice stay. Latinos. For Trump, you have to be the stupidest people to ever exist. Trump let the colonizers skip right past you.
And yeah, you know, so that's where we are, man. Every day we have a different antic from this administration. So tomorrow it'll be something that I may not even have time to cover, but whenever I'm ready to jump back in the booth, I'm sure there will be something out there in the news to cover from these fellas, because they wilding out, bro. So everybody out there, keep it tight, man. You know what I'm saying? We just a handful of months in. You dig what I'm saying? But this is where we are, and until then, it's been just like that. I'm out.